Hi guys, gsn1.com, and I'm here with the Motorola Moto G for a full and detailed review of the handset. We have already unboxed this model and we have the dual SIM version of the device. It's basically a cheaper Moto X. It's a 4.5-inch handset with pure Android on board. The price tag is $179 and this model was launched in November. Well, as far as the design is concerned, this back is interchangeable. You can replace it with another back with another color, and you can remove this case if you start from its center. We did that in the unboxing, but we failed to show you both of the SIM slots, so I'm going to do that now once again. Here we go. The back cover removed. First SIM slot is here at the top, the second SIM slot is here, so we got the dual SIM version of the Motorola Moto G. This is quite a bulky phone, as you probably can notice. Its thickness is 11.6 millimeter, which is huge by today's standards. It weighs 143 grams and it has pretty good proportions, meaning it sits well in the user's hand. As you can see, I'm reaching most of the areas of the screen, the ones that matter, and one hand use is very good. We got a solid grip that's being reinforced by this little hole here, this Motorola logo and hole. It can be used either to push up the case when removing it, or simply resting your finger here when doing something. Your index finger can be rested on that hole. There's Gorilla Glass protection over the screen, and if you want to buy an interchangeable back cover and you live in Europe, you should spend about 10 euros for it, for that panel. As you can see, we got a bit of a curved back here, which is not something bad, not necessarily. And let's see, on the side we got these buttons here that honestly speaking they feel a bit metallic, which is okay. On-off button and volume buttons, they have good feedback. At the bottom there is the micro USB port right here. At the back, camera, flash, Motorola logo and the speaker. Up top, audio jack and microphone next to it. Up front camera, earpiece, and the flashing notification logo right here. Overall, when you look at it like this, it looks like a Nexus 4, a fat Nexus 4, which is a pretty okay, and it can be a compliment for some. Now, as far as the hardware is concerned, this display is a 4.5-inch IPS LCD. The resolution is 720p and pixel density is 326 ppi. Inside this device, we got a Snapdragon 400 quad-core processor clocked at 1.2 GHz. This one is a Cortex A7 and it's accompanied by an Adreno 305 GPU. The storage is 8 or 16 GB depending on the version you purchase. There is no micro SD card slot and the battery is non-removable, and you also get 1 GB of RAM. Continuing with the specs, well, we got a 5 megapixel camera at the back with autofocus and LED flash. Up front, a 1.3 megapixel camera, and on the connectivity side there's quad band, GSM, GPRS, Edge, there's Wi-Fi, there's GPS, GLONASS, micro USB, Bluetooth 4.0, HSDPA, 21 megabytes per second speed. There's dual SIM, as you can see here. We got Android 4.3 as the OS, and in the section called others, we got ambient light, we got an accelerometer, proximity sensor, active noise cancelling with a dedicated mic. There is also a compass, and finally there's FM radio. The reason I'm looking here is that I'm searching for the screenshots related to the battery, since I'm going to talk about the battery now. Well, the battery is a lithium-ion unit. It's a 3.8 volt battery, and it has a capacity of 2070 mAh, so 2070 mAh is not removable, and in theory it should provide you with about 24 hours of talk time. Well, our tests involved 50% brightness and Wi-Fi on, and we achieved 6 hours and 50 minutes of continuous HD video playback, which is pretty okay for this phone, considering that the Nexus 5 offered us 4 or 5 hours and this one offers us almost 7 hours. I would say I'm pretty happy with it. The charge time is 3 hours and 40 minutes, which is kind of a lot for a modern phone, but I guess that about 7 hours of continuous HD playback is pretty nice. Overall, the battery is good. There's no complaint in this section for the Moto G. Now, as far as the audio is concerned, we got this speaker right here, and I'll tell you right now, it's pretty loud. So let's go to the play music, start some tunes like this one, turn it up. We also got an equalizer. And you can actually feel the effect of the equalizer when you apply it. Okay, so let's stop the playback and draw some conclusions. Before that, I want to show you the headphones that we received bundled with this device. From what I know, some versions of the phone do not have bundled headphones. Some I've heard that do not have bundled accessories, other one. Well, we got these headphones and I have to say they may not look like much, they may look pretty cheap and plasticky, but they fit well in the ear and they have very loud volume. I have to say that they're the kind of headphones that you have to turn down a little bit so you won't damage your ear. So overall the conclusion is that we have a decent bass, a loudspeaker, good equalizer, and the headset offers you some extra settings that include 3D effects, bass boost. We also have FM radio, so let's connect these headphones. Okay, FM radio right here with an intuitive interface. We have favorites, all stations you can scan, you can change audio reason, and that's pretty much it as far as the radio and audio experience is concerned. Once again, very high audio volume, very clear sound, very good voice, warm voice, and comfy headphones that look a bit cheap, but if they do their job, I'm fine with their cheapness. Okay, now on the video side, let me look up my favorite player, that's MX player. Got this test video here that I'm going to show you, and now I'm going to draw some conclusions related to the display. This is a 4.5-inch screen, 720p IPS LCD, pixel density 326 ppi, view angles very wide, as you can see. I've seen wider view angles, but this one does the trick just fine. There's a slight degradation once you turn it, but nothing noticeable. The contrast is actually pretty good. While taking pictures outdoors, I didn't have problems with the screen, and the colors are nice. They pop out, but not exaggerately. We got good whites and good blacks. I would say surprisingly good whites and good blacks for an IPS and not an AMOLED. The sunlight behavior is also good, and the screen achieves 455 nits units of brightness, which is good brightness if you ask me. So overall it's a good screen. I would compare it to the HTC One Mini and Galaxy S4 Mini, and this one would actually win the fight with those screens, at least in the area of brightness. Now that part of the review has come where we analyze the camera and check out what it can do. This one is a 5 megapixel camera with LED flash. I'm going to press the camera button and I'm going to use our good old brand castle to show you what this is all about. Okay, so we're setting it up right now. So this is the camera UI, 5 megapixel camera with a minimalistic interface. There is a semicircle in the left side of the screen, like on the Moto X, with the options that you can use for capture. You can press on the screen to actually take a pic. It has a reasonable speed. I wouldn't say it's a fast camera, also not a slow one. And as far as the semicircle on the side is concerned, let's actually analyze the options. We got HDR set on auto, on or off, some flash options, and an interesting option that allows you to control focus and exposure at the same time. So you can actually move this little viewfinder to control and change the exposure. As you can see, the exposure changes very fast, and supposedly also the focus. We got a special slow motion video option, panorama option, geotagging, aspect ratio option, and finally the shutter sound. So these are all the options you need to mess with. And you can zoom in or out by simply swiping up or down on the screen. The focus is not so good on this device. I noticed that after taking a bunch of pictures. When you use the focus option, the exposure tends to go off. I meant this one. When you're actually using it, it will affect negatively your exposure and your focus sometimes. Overall, I would say this is a pretty fast camera. I'll give it that much. So let's take a picture and let's look at it. This is the picture I've just taken. As you can see, the level of noise is pretty high. However, the quality at first sight is pretty good. Of course, we got a full gallery to show you here. As you can see, it's pretty easy to get your finger in front of the camera when holding it in landscape. And if you want technicalities, I have to say that this camera has a sensor that's the size of 1/4 of an inch. It's a CMOS sensor, 1.4 micron pixels, f2.4 aperture. Now it's time to show you some samples from the gallery. We have quite a lot of them. Keep in mind, we're during a very rough winter, and these pictures were taken these days in the midst of January in very rough snow. Of course, some of them were taken indoors. This is one of the indoor shot. With this phone and with its focus problems, it's very hard to actually take a macro picture, and pictures are kind of noisy and they lose focus. This is where I played with the option that allows you to control the exposure and the focus at the same time, and this is where the exposure goes off. Colors are totally unrealistic and nuances too, and this is what the HDR basically does. This is without HDR, this is with HDR. I tried these close-ups. As you can see, they're very blurry and noisy. Some more pictures. The colors are pretty good, as you can see. They're pretty natural, pretty realistic. And this is a picture actually taken with a flash. Keep in mind, it's the same room as the pictures from before, but this time I used the flash, and to good effect it would appear. Then we move on to the pictures taken outdoors. This is where the winter starts. This is a panorama that's actually pretty good. And several more winter pictures. This is one of the better ones. It's in full blizzard and still we managed to capture a decent shot. We also have some indoor shots of a mall. When you really leave it time to focus, you can take decent pictures, but usually there will be kind of a problem here. Well, videos are taken in slow motion, which I like very much, but if you apply the slow motion option, it tends to become very noisy. So the resulting sample can be very noisy. You'll see a sample in our full text review. This is what the slow-mo does. It's nice to see, and the maximum of resolution of the capture is 720p. You can take 30 frames per second videos at a 10 megabytes per second bitrate, and stereo audio at 128 kilobytes per second. The video, I would say, is good, not especially good. Let's see other things here for video capture, like this one. We're in the middle of the blizzard again. What I liked about the video capture is the exposure, the way it sets the exposure, and actually I'm more happy with the focus from the video than the one from the photos. I've seen people complaining about this device's camera. I have to say that with the video side I'm reasonably impressed. Of course, don't expect quality when zooming in, that's a given. And another slow motion video that I like very much is this one. You can actually see the snowflakes falling, each of them thanks to the slow-mo option. And if you skip ahead, there's a guy on a bike riding in slow-mo, which is yet another cool thing. So overall, a good camera for taking those fast videos you like to upload on Facebook and YouTube. While the pictures tend to be slightly noisy and slightly out of focus, if you're patient enough to figure out the focus, you will get some pretty decent pics, but don't expect to be better than the HTC One Mini, and certainly not better than the Galaxy S4 Mini. It's a 5 megapixel camera after all. What's good here is the panorama, the colors of the pics, and some of the low light shots may surprise you. Now, as far as the default browser is concerned, we got Chrome available right here, and now let's load up our website, gsmdome.com. Here we go. Loaded up pretty fast. And I have to say, this is a browser that's reasonably fast. It's not exactly the fastest in the world. Here is a pinch to zoom, here is an unboxing of the device, and this is the website, our website, gsmdome.com. As you can see, the screen is pretty crisp. You can read the text easily in landscape and portrait mode, so the web browsing experience is pretty good. on this screen. Moving further, we reach the benchmarks, and you have to know that on this device we get a Snapdragon 400 processor. It's a quad core, it has quite 200 cores, and this one is a Cortex A7 CPU. Let's go to the screenshots, and I decided to compare the Moto G with the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini and HTC One Mini because in a way it's a mini as well. It's basically a Moto X Mini, if you want to say that. Okay, so we scored in quadrant 8,870 points. We beat the Galaxy S4 Mini by 1,700 points. That one scored 7,100 and the HTC One Mini scored 6,100. So we beat both rivals. In Antutu, we got a huge score. Here we go. 17,340 points. We totally beat the Galaxy S4 Mini. That's a bit bugged. In this benchmark it scored only 4,300 points, while the HTC One Mini scored 11,000 points. Next up, Nenamark, 57.8 frames per second, got beaten by the Galaxy S4 Mini with 60 frames, but also we beat the HTC One Mini with 57 frames. One thing more mentioning, this display has a higher resolution than the Galaxy S4 Mini, as far as I know. Okay, moving even further, we're up to Velamo. Here we scored 1950 points in the HTML5 test. We beat the Galaxy S4 Mini by 1000 points. Of course, this may also be a bug, and we got beaten by the HTC One Mini with 2284 points. And we move further to Nenamark, to 3D Mark, excuse me. We scored 5426 points, got beaten by the Galaxy S4 Mini by 300 points, and we beat the HTC One Mini by 500 points. Finally, Browser Mark 2.0, 2245 points, pretty good for the browser. We beat the HTC One by 100 points, got beaten by the S4 Mini by 100 points. And finally, last but never least, the SunSpider test. We got 1494, which is a pretty low score if you ask me, but it's comparable to the other models. Meanwhile, Windows Phone devices score around 900 points, so they're clearly faster in the SunSpider test. Overall, the Motorola Moto G beats the Galaxy S4 Mini and HTC One Mini. As far as performance is concerned, obviously it has no lag, as you can see. The functioning is pretty flawless, even if you fill the screen up with widgets, and even if you also activate a live wallpaper in the background and play a 3D game. By the way, what we're running here is Android 4.3 Jelly Bean stock version. As you can see, KitKat should be coming any day now. This is a very fluid device. I never encountered a single problem with its functioning, and you can access Google Now from the lock screen. So if you want to know stuff about this device's functioning, this is one of the aspects. It already shows me cards of my favorite themes, stocks, weather in the town I'm in, and some other info like the commute info I need. There's also a Do Not Disturb feature. It's the Assist app that Motorola provides, and this one actually can sense your habits. If you set it up properly, it will be able to tell when you're sleeping, when you're in a meeting. You can choose to silence your phone, allow vibrate only, favorite calls, auto reply, and between these times it can sense that you're sleeping and put the phone on silence, which is a very nice thing. Okay, let's see other stuff worth mentioning. Let's go to Google Now and let's say something like schedule meeting for tomorrow at 6 p.m. So it's basically almost done. Real Madrid.
On Sunday at 10 p.m.
And you can get a variety of information and also issue commands to this, like call a person, text a person, and stuff like that. Speaking of calling, this is the area where you call people. This is the dialer, and the sound is loud and clear. We got excellent signal on both SIMs. We got noise cancelling technology that works just fine, and a bunch of special dual SIM settings right here in this area. Okay, and then there's also a people app where you can see all your peeps, divide by groups, the list of persons and their avatars and your favorite contacts and everything you need to know about them, stuff like address, email, and other personal info. Okay, now as far as the typing is concerned, this is the default keyboard available on the device. It has gesture typing that resembles swipe, so if you want to write blue, and if you want to write something like typing, okay, not the best trajectory. Toning, let's try again. Typing, toppling. Let's try to write this time phone. Here we go, phone. So you get the idea, basically swiping from one letter to the other, and this is gesture typing that came with one of the latest issues of Android. Okay, now we're in that part of the review where we have a look at all the pre-installed apps on this device. There aren't many and they're usually stock ones. So we've got, for example, Google Drive right here. It can give you 50 gigabytes of storage, and it can allow you to store your files, share it with other people, and collaborate while working on the same document, for example. Then there is the obvious calendar included here. Okay, and then there's Chrome, there's your clock with all of its options and timers and stuff like that. Then there's a good old Gmail here with its color-coded emails. We got Google Plus for your social networking needs with an interface that hasn't evolved very much from the past releases, although I find it to be pretty friendly and pretty easy to use. Write a new status, post a new photo or a new location, and then we move further. We find Hangouts, concentrating your texts or starting a video call straight from the app, very easy to do. We move even further to the other applications and we find Google Maps, obviously pre-installed. Here we go, and obviously working flawlessly. With several options here like bicycling, public transit and things like that. And let's see what else. They also bundle here Motorola Migrate, allowing you to migrate from one phone to the other, even from the iPhone, so you can keep some of your settings, contacts and all that. There's Moto Care, so if you want frequently asked questions to chat or call people, the people at Motorola, they can help you with your questions. Then there is the Photos app. Redundancy is at home here. We got the Photos app and we got a Gallery app. Both do the same thing. They show your pics but with a different interface. I guess only one of them will stay in the end. Photos was actually meant to be a part of the Google Plus experience, but it ended up being a full-fledged gallery. Then we got the full Play suite. We got Play Books, then we got Play Games, and obviously we have Play Store and Play Music. There's also Quick Office for your office needs, so you can start creating a Word document. Here it is, with some nifty settings, I have to say. Pretty impressed by these settings, like the font, highlight, paragraphs, and basically a replacement for, let's say, OpenOffice on the PC. Just a comparison, and this is a spreadsheet. You can create a quick sheet, work with it, various functions, selections, and filling your columns. Finally, you can also create a presentation. Everything is very intuitive, and Google really did a nice move when they bought Quick Office and pre-installed their application on Android devices from their partners. Okay, let's see what else is left. Obviously, we got YouTube, and there's also the Play Store, and there is the Google Translate application right here. Okay, so those are all the pre-installed apps on the Motorola Moto G. It's time for the conclusions related to the handset that costs below $200, which is very impressive. So on the pros, the list of pros includes a very good battery. It offered us almost 7 hours of continuous HD playback, a very bright screen. It's actually a bit more impressive than the Galaxy S4 Mini and more impressive than the HTC One Mini, so this is why this screen can be considered impressive. Good performance, absolutely no lag. It can easily run modern games without a hassle, and stock Android is always a bonus, works just fine. You will get KitKat among the first, faster than some flagships out there. Very good audio, pretty good speaker at the back, extremely loud headphones, and it can run new games. It's a dual SIM handset for below $200. It has an interchangeable back. You can replace it with other colors for the back. It has decent video capture, and it could even handle a blizzard in the middle of January, so this is why it's an impressive device with a decent camera. On the con side, let's face it, it's a bulky and massive phone. It's very thick by today's standards and very heavy. The storage is low. This is the 8GB version of the phone, and let's see how much I have left. I have left only about 3 gigs of storage, which is very little. There are slight problems with the focus and colors in the camera capture, and the camera UI is totally not my type. I don't like this semicircle interface. It's not very comfortable to use. Those were the single defects of the handset. And now the final grades. We give the design an 8.3 out of 10. We give the hardware a 9. Here we're dropping points for the camera and storage. And for the operating system and user interface, a 9.6 out of 10. The final grade is 8.96 out of 10. However, for the excellent price of less than $200, we add an extra 0.50 points, bringing the device up to about 9.50 out of 10. A huge grade for a handset that's so cheap and also so good, with such a good processor and decent camera and flawless performance. This is the Motorola Moto G. The grade, as I said, 8.96 out of 10 with an extra 0.50 points for the price. This is gsn1.com. Bye bye.